I was trying to create that community of preventative and proactive wellness. To put that answer in one sentence, it's very difficult.
How would somebody build a strong foundation?
I did not know that 2 years later, I was going to quit my job and homeschool Haley and the guys. When I set up my business, nobody was really talking about that. We're going to teach that you can be happy.
All right, Cristi Williams, the one and only. Anybody that knows anything about my professional career knows about you, because my career started with you and I wouldn't be here if it weren't for you. And we're going to get into your story in a second, but I just want to say thank you, first of all, for everything over the last, has it been 10 years since I've known you? More than that, 12 years, I think.
Yeah.
12 years. I truly cannot imagine what my life would be like right now if I didn't know you. So thanks. That's how I want to start.
So you want to start with me crying. That's thank you, Steph.
Cristi, you pioneered basically a whole industry in mental wellness in the entertainment industry. Did you know you were doing that when you started?
That's a big title, Stephanie.
It's true. Well, here's why I say that, because when I first met you in 2013,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know this was a career. I didn't even know people were out in the music or entertainment industries helping young entertainers or just entertainers in general with their mental well-being. And then when I started growing into the career and I was starting to kind of get my feet wet with you, and I would talk to other people in the industry about it, they would kind of look at me like, you're going to do what? Like
Right.
with a little bit of confusion. So they didn't even know about it either. And then when I moved out to LA and I was actually starting to do this, people were kind of warming up to the idea of mental health in entertainment and in music, and kind of starting to understand the importance of taking care of the mind and the brain. And it wasn't until like a couple years ago, literally 4 or 5 years ago, maybe even less, let's say like 4 years ago.
Before the pandemic or after?
Like around the same time, I kind of want to say like beginning of 2020. And then right after that, I think, is when mental health in the music industry started to pop off.
Right.
And now I know of a handful of various different coaches and therapists in the music industry, and they did not exist, at least to my knowledge, until recently. So that's why I say that you pioneered this entire thing. Whether those people know it or not, it's true. You pioneered it. And whether you knew it or not at the time, I'm not sure, but that's my question. Did you know that you were pioneering this at the time?
No, I didn't know, because it was such a personal thing that I just wanted to create an area where my daughter and the people that she played for and worked with, that team, I was trying to create that community of preventative and proactive wellness, hopefully to help others other than Paramore, because it's very hard to do that with the people that you love the most. And if Haley needed a doctor, I wouldn't step up. I would take her. I would try to find the best doctor. So never wanted to manage. I just wanted to do my role as a parent and raise her to the best of my ability till she was 18, 21, or whenever she left home. But um, I did. I had heard in 2008 or 7 about life coach. I heard that word.
Where'd you hear that? Do you remember?
Gosh, we were traveling, and I was always reading, because I don't think podcasts existed, but
Yeah.
I was reading, and probably a self-help book on the internet. Anyway, I was interested I heard it somewhere, and I started researching what is that. And there was a life coach for time management. There was one for dating. There was one for relationships. There was, I mean, anything you could, any hobby, any career, any life issue or condition. Except I could not find entertainment industry or an entertainment life coach. After a few months, I did stumble across one, but I read the website, and I was just like, I'm not referring that person, but anyway. So I guess I do know that I brought it first to the attention of the people that I was around.
Surrounded by.
Yeah. And managers that I talked to, and labels, and they always said, like, because I really, you're right. Like, when I set up my business, nobody was really talking about that. And I mean, I was woken up at 2:00 one morning, and the word life coach and entertainment, it was like two words in the sky, and they just kind of went together. And I didn't know how it would go off, but I did a lot of educating before I got my first client. And everybody and when I say educating, people are like, what is that? And what do you do? So I just kept talking and encouraging people in the arts to be proactive and preventive with their mental health. And a lot of people like Disney, Nickelodeon, they were like, we love what you do. Well, a lot of labels, we love what you do. It's so necessary. We'll call you when we need you.
Yeah, that's still what we hear to this day.
Yeah, it's a lot of putting Band-Aids. I put a lot of Band-Aids on first, and until we could get to the root of the problem. But I had to create trust with the professional relationships, and then prove it.
Yeah.
And the way I proved it was when they called, did what they asked me to do, put some Band-Aids on it, but also started working on trying to timeline the issue. See, because as practitioners, we can do a lot if it hasn't passed the point of our expertise, and then we know where to go, what resources, if it's addiction and stuff like that, we can help. But it's more about really recognizing, assessing, and equipping the artists and the managers, producers with tools so that they can see when the problem is coming, or they don't feel congruent.
Right. I want to get into the process kind of and how it works. But first, I'm just curious, as you were doing that, as you started, did you have in the back of your mind, this is going to change the industry? Or were you just trying to affect the people around you and the people that you saw? Like, what was your initial mission when you got that ping at 2 a.m. entertainment life coach, I'm going to help these kids? What was your mission? And maybe if it's helpful, kind of go backwards and tell us how that even came about. Why
Okay.
this and why entertainment?
Okay. So, um, my formal education is a master's in education and a minor in counseling. So I taught sixth grade for 17 years, probably because I loved the drama. And
I think that makes one of us. Go ahead.
I love the drama. And then when Haley turned 11, she was interested in singing and getting,
Haley's your daughter.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm just saying that because there are going to be people watching this who don't know who we are.
I know.
Hopefully.
I just know you so
Hopefully it's not just my mom who's watching this. Hi, Mom. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, Michelle. Yeah, okay. So the reason I even started researching this was because of my daughter's passions and dreams and pursuit of those dreams. I wanted to support her in any hobby that she had. And as she was kind of stepping into it and, playing around with writing songs and singing out, it kind of happened quickly. And one person led us to the next. And, I was naive enough to just think, this is a great hobby. It'll keep her busy, meet friends, socialize, keep her out of trouble, I guess. I did not know that 2 years later I was going to quit my job and homeschool Haley and the guys in a 15-passenger van. And as we started traveling around the country and doing that, Paramore was fortunate enough to have a small budget to where we had a well-maintained van and trailer. And I say that because there's a lot of bands out there that don't know if their van's going to make it to the next venue.
Mm-hmm.
And I think seeing that really scared me. And I worried about these bands that, played at these venues that we were going to, and talking to them, who's supporting you? What does your mom and dad think? Like, do you miss home? What about education? Just kind of like taking a survey, but it wasn't like, I walked in the green room and you said, raise your hand if,
Yeah. Yeah.
It was very,
just genuinely curious,
very organic. And, and I just felt like the moment I started asking questions to bands about family and stuff, I mean, they just poured their heart out. And it was so easy to talk to them. And there was no, there's no cookie cutter, there's no protocol. Everybody has their own way of finding themselves on stage. And it was fascinating. But as a mom and traveling with Paramore, I realized that we needed some more tools to figure out decision making and critical thinking skills, and just figuring out how to navigate this high demanding and no rules. It's just whatever your vision is, you're going to find a manager and try to make it happen.
Yeah.
Is that manager's job to babysit? No. The manager's job is to believe in the artist and help them make their vision be as productive, successful, and fulfilling as possible. And so as I asked labels, I asked professionals in the industry, labels, managers, and I heard a lot that well, that band right there, they're all over 21, so they're kind of in charge of their own mental health. The labels usually pointed to the managers, and and that's reasonable because the managers are with the bands more, and the labels. Everybody has their own agenda and their job description.
Mm-hmm.
What we're missing is there's no job description for maintaining mental wellness in the industry. It's not a part of the weekly routine or the daily routine.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to prepare to go into, well, you and I usually say prepare to go into a storm, but I'm going to call it a battle right now.
Okay.
Because the industry is a battle.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be equipped.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've got to know who you are, what your non-negotiables are, so that when you feel the pressure, you can go back to your values and your boundaries and the tools that you feel comfortable enough using, and strategies that you've learned, so that you can make the sound decisions.
Mm-hmm. So as you were on tour, you were basically teaching these young kids at the time and looking around and seeing other bands in different scenarios that maybe would lend themselves to poor mental health. Is that kind of what you were saying?
Well,
or you were like, why mental health? When you say you were asking the managers and the labels about these kids and their mental well-being, why was that something that stood out to you over like their financial well-being or something?
Okay. And I think that's part of it too, when you get the whole picture. But I think that I was more interested in the relationships within the band. And then as I started talking to bands, they would talk about their wife and kids at home, which brought a lot of more questions and curiosity to me. And then the question that nobody could answer was, well, how, when I asked, well, how long are you going to do this? What's your plan? And never asked about plan B because they didn't even know plan A.
Right.
So so I couldn't even begin to say, well, if this doesn't work out, and that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
But I don't like to look at those questions because people should be able to go after their dream and love it and love doing it. But what happens is the struggle of just being on the road, and their dream is somewhere along that road. There's more low days than high days.
Yeah.
And the consistency is tough, especially when everybody is at home, your family and your friends saying, when are you going to be on the radio? When are you going to do this? What have you done? It's like, where's your progress? And that's very hard for a musician to say at any point in their career.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So I was more about, did a lot of people watching, and noticed some bands did not speak to each other until they got on stage. So, I could have written a list, relationship issues, confidence, a burnout, and then not to even mention, the temptations, the drugs, or let's don't call them drugs, or, let's call them coping skills, healthy coping skills. So, it's free time, it's finances, it's your physical health. It's like,
it's all interconnected.
Right. I mean, those bands that were on the road, um, if they had celiac or another condition, it changes the whole dynamic of touring,
For sure.
which costs money.
For sure.
So I was very curious because I think in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, well, if this hobby, if this phase runs out, how can I advise and be supportive with whatever dream is next, or whatever occupation, Haley will pursue. And so I think I was really at the beginning gathering information for me to learn about the business so I could know who to call when the shit hits the fan. Sorry.
That's okay. And thankfully, the shit never really hit the fan in the way that it has for some other people. And that's something that really drew me to the industry, was seeing to this, actually, not just the industry, to this career and this mission is seeing some of the people that I grew up. I hate to use this word, but I did as a kid. I idolized them. And I saw a lot of them go down a path that was really destructive and honestly really sad. And I remember you talking about fame and the mind and how fame affects the mind, and learning some skills in your class that I took. And I remember thinking, wait a second. So there's a way to prevent some of that stuff. Like there's a way to somehow influence how young entertainers take in all of this craziness that's happening in their lives, and to do something about it so that they don't go down the path, or that they can at least increase their chances of not going down the path that some others had. And that blew me away. And I was like, if I can be a part of helping people in that way, then I want to do that.
And you're awesome at it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's so kind. I learned from the best. So Cristi, when you started and you were just gathering information at first, at what point did you go, okay, I'm not just gathering this information for myself. I'm going to gather this info and I'm going to share it with other people, or I'm going to gather this information and I'm going to teach other people how to fortify their minds and take a proactive or a preventative approach, as you do now, as you teach other people to do. At what point did it shift from gathering info for myself to I'm going to go do this thing?
Well, I think as a educator all my life, it's very important for me to serve younger generations. And while I was on the road, I kept thinking, and this is when Britney Spears was shaving her head, and her mom was served with restraining order papers, and she couldn't see her grandchildren. And that really hit me hard. And I thought, I kind of blamed myself for where we were, and we could have been in Iowa, and, in the a cornfield, and we're looking for a Wendy's or something. But
what a different life that would have been.
Oh my gosh. But but I just took on the guilt, and and I'm in the van with 5 dudes that aren't my sons, and quickly becoming my sons. I'm refereeing and trying to instill whatever morals I could. But I'm the only woman there. I'm the only mom. And listen, when Haley and I, Haley's 15, I'm in the van with her. If you think about 15-year-olds and their parents spending 24/7, it's not all, rainbows and.
No, it's not.
So
Even at 31, it's not always rainbows and butterflies. And I love my parents, but it's not always rainbows and
right.
butterflies.
And always have had a great relationship. But at that point, you know, when Haley and I would get in an argument, I had all the dudes in the band hating me too. You know, they took sides. So, and which didn't bother me a bit. I don't want to say that, but it was like I just wanted to know how to advise them if they were like, "Hey, we got to go talk to somebody." And I'm like, you know, the first thing that my parents would have said if I came to them, like, are you on drugs? You know, like, you know, are you having dark thoughts? You know, it was always the extreme, you know.
Right. Yeah.
And I wasn't worried about, I know that was a possibility for Haley and the guys. I mean, you know, nobody is immune to that temptation or coping strategy or whatever. But I wanted something more tactile, consistent, healthy tools to prevent those extreme cases from happening, so you don't cancel tour, and you just don't go home after tour and never come out again. You know, or eating disorders, which was something I struggled with when I was young. And or even if your parents get divorced, you know, tour. So I started researching, and that's when when I started researching life coach, it didn't have enough substance behind it and tools that I wanted. And I guess being an educator, I want the client to be part of the process. I don't want them to come in and speak and me just nod my head and give them something to go on for the next week, you know. I wanted to have a client-centered, interactive, fun way, because that's how we learn, you know, if it's fun and repetitious, and to really gain awareness of who they are and who they are in this situation, who they are in this situation. And then if there's decisions to be made, really sometimes going back and saying, you know, what was the first major decision you ever made? You know, was it in first grade when you had to choose chocolate milk or white milk, you know, or orange juice?
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. I mean, that's major.
Yeah, it is.
Or who to play with at recess.
Oh, that's a big one. Like, actually.
Yes. And
Yeah.
we should learn all these soft skills, interpersonal skills, intrapersonal skills in elementary school, but not just once a month. You know, when we talk about the word of the month as kindness or whatever, it has to be implemented and integrated repetitiously and on a consistent basis so that child sees it. And so I just think we've done a disservice, you know, and I think I can speak on this because I did teach in the public school system for 17 years. And I think that schools are trying to incorporate social and emotional learning.
We learn about emotions when we're kids, and then at some point it becomes more about the behavior than it does about maybe the driving force behind that behavior. Like if you're working with a young band, and let's say they're all 15, 16, 17, and one person blows up and freaks out on everybody. Well, instead of just being like, ugh, that kid is just a pain in the neck or whatever, maybe we approach it and go, what happened that like, what was the last straw that broke the camel's back and made him freak out? Like, were there some resentments that were building up over the last 2 months? Or is he the one kid on tour that has celiac, and every night after tour, the only thing they have at catering is pizza and burgers,
Mhm.
like, then he can't eat all the time. Like, what is the thing that's driving this behavior and these emotions? And can we teach him? And the answer is yes. But can we teach him how to recognize what those emotions are, how to process them, and then maybe how to ask for the things that he needs,
Yeah,
or how to interact with the other kids or the other bandmates around him?
totally. And understand what that emotion feels like in your body.
Yes, yes. And this is not just kids.
No,
This
no,
is
no.
this is adults. Sorry, I just gave the example of a young person because we were talking about
Right.
first grade
Well,
is basically
and
the end of our education on emotions. But go ahead.
no, and I'm glad. I'm kind of glad we went there, just because I just want to touch on one thing. So
Sure.
many people, I guess I first, even though I had coached or um, had a couple of bands as clients that I was doing group sessions and group work with,
Mhm.
um, to help some conflict resolution, you know, and just how to live together on a bus or in a van for
Mhm.
6 months. And all of a sudden, I got a call from someone at Disney, and they were asking about my services. And I went out there and I started working with a couple of child stars and a band that Disney was organizing and going to put on the road, you know. And so I started being known as the child star life coach.
Mhm.
and that really wasn't my target audience. My target audience was, anybody that was working professionally.
I
But
don't think I knew that.
oh yeah, yeah. But what happened when I went to the West Coast to work, there was so much work that, you know, I just remember my mom calling and she was like, "When are you coming home?" It had been like 3 months.
Mm.
And I stayed in Studio City. I stayed in like a extended stay,
Oh, I know exactly where you were. Were you in the Oakwood apartments?
No, but I did a
Oh,
lot.
okay.
I did a lot of parent workshops in the Oakwood
Oh,
apartment.
I bet. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. But it was like that. It was like, it
Uh-huh.
was a hotel that it was, you could stay there for a month. And that's,
Oh, like literally the name is called Extended Stay. The
um,
one of those places.
yes.
Okay, gotcha.
And
Yeah.
so I stayed there, for a month, and I needed to be there more. Like, work was picking up and more clients, and not all from the Disney or the Nickelodeon or any child's acting studios, but all studios, Fox, CBS, or whatever. And so just networking kept me out there. And I really thought, when I saw how much business was out there, I lived there for 2 years, and this is when all the decisions were being made about Shading the Limelight, my company. Is it going to be a nonprofit? And the reason it's not a nonprofit is because if I ran a nonprofit, I would be doing paperwork and grants and holding board meetings and
Mhm.
doing a lot of red tape with, federal government.
Mhm.
Um, I want to work with the artist. I want to work with the clients. I want to work with the people that are in the wings and on stage, and in the producers and songwriters, and because there's a lot of people behind the scenes that need help, that
Mhm.
need uh, help in the way of, they need strategies, they need the skills and support, um, and a lot of those things are not serious enough to, tell your work you need, 90 days to go check in somewhere.
Mhm.
If we start it early, then, um, and especially if we work with the clients when there's some stability, and the storm is not there. Now it's coming. It's just a matter of when. There's all different kind of storms, but if we can get them confident enough and where they can feel agency daily, then they're going to head off a lot of things themselves. It's just that the young adults that I first started, talking to were 20s and 30 something. And it seems like they didn't have the foundation, which really gave me a goal to do when families or studios that worked with young talent called.
Mm-hmm. When you talk about these people not having the strong foundation, how would you describe a strong foundation? Like, what is it? How would somebody build a strong foundation? Give me like step 1, step 2, step 3 of building a strong foundation.
Okay. So, and this is just off the cuff. Okay.
Okay.
But I feel like step 1 is you need to know where you are. Like where are you physically? Where are you emotionally? Where are you financially? Like you need to know every part of your life and that's what, it's what you and I do with shading with clients is we assess the present.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's step 1.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know where you are, you're not going to know how to get to where you want to go.
Totally. Sorry, just really quickly on that note. Yeah. I heard once, I don't remember who said it exactly, but they said you can't manage what you don't measure. And I use this all the time with my clients. I'm always asking them for a percentage or rate your level of blank on a scale from 1 to 10, because I like to know where we are now so that we can measure the progress as we go. And then I want to know also, which maybe, I don't know if this is step 2, so sorry if I'm stepping on your toes. I also want to know, where are we going? So rate your level of stress right now. Oh, it's at a 7. Okay. And where do you ideally want your level of stress? At a 3. Okay. That gives me something to work with. If someone just says, I have so much stress and I want to have less, well, I don't know exactly what that means.
Right.
And how do you know when you get there? Okay. Sorry. Now I'm going off. So, okay. Step 1 is know where you are in every facet of your life. Right. Step 2.
Step 2 is, and sometimes I say step 2 is, what do you want?
Uh-huh.
Before and I used to ask that the very first day, because that question, as practitioners, you and I know that the answer to that gives us an enormous map of their world, right? Even what they don't talk about, right? So, but I think that step 1 has some subsets. And that is depending on if they know where they are or not, if they can talk about relationships that they have and what they've learned from relationships. I think subsets need to be, what are you aware of? What do you recognize on a daily basis that is a big challenge for you, and just really ask them, what are do you know your values? Do you know, how many times in your life have you said no and meant it without feeling guilty?
Ooh, it's good.
Then step 2 is, well, let's see where you want to go. What do you want? A lot of times, what do you want? Well, I don't want to live in Nashville,
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Well, I didn't ask you what you didn't want. What do you want? And that's very, very hard question to answer at
Mhm.
any age, at any level, um, to put that answer in one sentence, it's very difficult,
Mhm.
but we get there.
Mhm. We sure do.
Yeah.
So, step 1 to building a strong foundation, know where you are. Step 2, know what you want.
And where do you want to be?
Yeah.
You can use that 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And, as the client, as professionals, we're watching the client's body language and eyes and listening to their linguistics.
Mhm.
And that gives us lots of clues of, you know, I call them hot spots. Uh,
Mhm.
you know, um, oh, they don't want to talk about their brother too much. So, so I'm gonna be cruel and ask them about their brother. No,
You would never.
no. You have to be definitely sensitive, and you have to. This is rapport building on the first couple of
Yep.
of client sessions, but know where you are. Where do you want to go, and how do you want to get there? Do you want to get there?
Is that step 3, how you want to get there, or
Yeah,
no? Okay.
yeah, I think it is. And step 3, and I'm assuming that step 2, because I've never put these in steps 1, 2, or 3, and
Mhm.
you're making me organize it in a different way, which is
Sorry.
no, Steph, listen, it's like we're in a session right now. You're showing your audience what happens in a session,
Yeah.
you
And
know?
this is kind of on top of that, this is kind of a peek into how our brains work.
Hmm.
And you would pick up on this if I was your client. If I'm asking you, well, what's step 1, what's step 2, what's step 3, you'd probably go, okay, she likes structure. She
Yes.
likes plans. She likes details.
She is a through time person.
Yeah, she is a through time, at least attempts to be. So all of this, as you said earlier, you're listening to the linguistics. So I'm telling you, I want to know what step 1, step 2, and step 3 are, and what you're hearing is this is how she processes information.
Right. Because I'm allowing the client, of course, I do not want to advise, and I do
Right.
not want to judge.
Mm-hmm.
And
There's,
I do.
right, there's this thing on the internet, which I'm like never on the internet, but I am every once in a while. And there's this trend going around where couples or people will just be sitting together and they go, we listen and we don't judge. And then somebody will say something like, um, I don't know, like I put hot sauce in my cereal, and the other person's like, what? And they'd say, we listen and we don't judge. Anyway, that just made me, when you said you basically said that we listen and we don't judge and we're not giving advice, it just made me think of that. I'm sorry I interrupted. Keep
No,
going.
that's okay. We don't give advice,
Correct.
and we don't judge what they've done, because that's not what we're here for.
Right.
No, we have to work in the parameters, the boundaries, and the values of the client. So, step 1, know where you are.
Mm-hmm.
Step 2, what do you want? Where do you want to go? Some people say, I want a Grammy. Some people say, I want a record deal. Some people say, I just want to get in a van and tour. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do all 3 of those, but I'm definitely not going to map out and give this person a detailed map of how to get a Grammy. I
Mm-hmm.
know I think it's like, well, let's back up a little bit. What do you want before the Grammy?
Mm-hmm.
And do you want to do this by yourself or with your friends, or do you want a record label to put a band together for you? It's like, because the destination is going to, it should dictate practical, logical, manageable, step by step
Mm-hmm.
directions. And what I'm saying by saying that is there is no one way to get what you want.
Mm-hmm.
I think you've got to think creatively, and that's
Mm-hmm.
what artists do best.
Yes.
You know,
Yes, they do.
however, they have so many ideas, and their brain is at a level where, it's very hyperactive, and there's so many, I call them tracks. All right. In your thought processes, it's like
Mhm.
I'm talking to you and I'm answering your questions, but I'm having to keep my second track of what are we gonna have for dinner tonight? I have
Mhm.
to push that away. So there's a lot of tracks of thoughts going on underneath what's really being said.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times you've got to slow down and really um, create the steps and allow them to see the steps and say, does it look like this to you?
Mm-hmm.
Or how does this feel? But it is about allowing them a place that is safe and confident for them to learn tools, but also be able to think through possibilities and decisions and consequences.
Mm-hmm.
How is that going to affect me, you know, in 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
And so the, it's not, it's not about what I think is best because I'm not walking in the client's shoes. It's about giving them choices and teaching them that they do have a choice and agency so that
Mm-hmm.
they will be able to, in that moment when they have to make a decision, make it with confidence, and there's a little risk involved, of course,
Sure.
but also check the ecology and see, okay, how's that going to fit into, is that practical? Is that logical? How can you make that work?
Mm-hmm.
And really it's brainstorming session for a little while, especially if
Yeah.
you can't answer, what do you want? If they just say, I want to be happy, well, guess what? Happiness is an emotion. It's not a goal.
Right.
So at some point of your day, you are going to be happy because
Mhm.
emotions are like clouds. They move all the time.
Yep.
So whether it's you were happy when you got up when the first alarm went off, or you're happy because um, you went to Proper Bagel and got your favorite breakfast. Shout out to Proper Bagel.
We are not sponsored by Proper Bagel, but Cristi would like to be.
But now I've lost my train of thought. But
We were just talking about decision making, and if you don't know exactly what you want,
you got
then
that's what that space is going to be used for in that session.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just a brainstorm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it's yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to ask if somebody, let's say somebody knows what they want, they know kind of at least a little bit where they are, but they want to do it. They want to get to where they want to go in a healthy way because they've seen other artists, other entertainers come before them who've done it in an unhealthy way. How do you, I mean, I have a way that I approach this, but I want to know, how do you approach entertainers in any way, shape, or form, whether they're an actor, a dancer, a model, a singer, a backing musician, whatever? How do you help them build a foundation of well-being? Is it kind of the same approach, but it's just focused on well-being, or how do you do it?
You mean at the beginning of, yeah,
Yeah, we say we help them take a proactive approach
right,
and
preventative.
take the preventative approach. So how do you do that?
I think there's enough personal experiences that person whether it's directly or indirectly, maybe they just heard a story on the tabloids. I think that opens up a lot for discussion. But also it is really my job to get to know the intricate details of who they are. Where do their values conflict? Where are the places that they struggle? It could be, working with a certain producer, or it could be a bad relationship with food, because I need to know from them. And this is mostly on the intensive intake. It's like, what have you tried? Who do you go to when you're in trouble? What helps you calm down before a show? Is it being with other people or being alone? And when I say alone, I just mean like private time, meditation time, prayer, journal time, just a stillness. And it has to work for their map of the world, because no one is going to come in and get a brand new way of living and then go out and do it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of funny to think about, but I think a lot of people kind of want that, or they think they want it. They're like, I just need something new. I need everything to change. And honestly, every once in a while, I'm like, if I could hit the reset button and just like restart this whole thing.
But we can hit the reset button every day of our lives.
Right. But we can't like serve somebody a new way of life on a silver platter, but we can hit the reset button.
Stephanie, I think the step 1, step 2, and step 3, what you've asked and the way I'm answering it is our program, the Artist Success Model. Phase 1 is getting to know who you are and everything about who you are, and your range of excitement, your range of fear. And then the second part is, where do you want to be? And that is like from now on, like, is there, what's on your bucket list, that too. And then phase 3 is, okay, well, I want you to try this strategy, and it's like, it's the experimentation stage and exploring who they are and allowing them to leave and go try maybe journaling, go try maybe yoga, or, and they come back and say, oh, I just hated that. All right, well, we're not going to use it then. That's not going to be in your toolkit, and if they love something, let's talk about what it is they loved. But it is moving forward, okay, from the present, moving forward and building the momentum and learning as you go, all the while progressing to where you want to be. So we're not going to, and that's how it's different from therapy, right? It's like therapy focuses mainly on the past and getting you to the present. Tell me about your past and how has it affected your present?
Right.
And then and then go from there, but you've got to heal a lot of the past, sometimes.
So we are different in our approach.
Yes.
In what way? I'll let you say it.
Right. With NLP, with any mental health practitioner work, if it falls under the umbrella of preventative, proactive, or positive psychology, we're going to teach that you can be happy. It's like, because psychology was developed because of mental disorders, and people could not, conditions and issues, whether it was genetic or environmental, was interrupting their daily quality of life. And so psychology was developed and, to help help those with trauma, um, chronic stress and disorders.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm all for it, you know. However, a lot of people think, you know, I need to talk to somebody, but I don't need to go check into somebody. I don't need to see a therapist. Like, it's not that bad. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Some people just want the affirmation or the validation that they're not crazy,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And phase one is allowing them to realize that they're not. They're
Right.
they just are different. You know, some people put their glass on the left hand side of their plate, and some people put it on the right.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't, you know, it's bad when we assume meaning with that.
So the work that we do is different than therapy in a few ways, and it can be similar in the sense that it is therapeutic, and people do find a lot of healing and a lot of growth from it. And that exploration phase, I think, is a fun phase, at least for me,
It is.
when I'm with a client and I'm seeing them try different things and see what works and see what doesn't and progress in whatever specific area of their life that we're working on. And that
Wait,
was one of Go
sorry.
ahead. No,
It's
go ahead.
fun for them to, I mean, it is going to be
Oh, for sure.
because they're learning about themselves, things that they didn't know their whole life,
Totally.
you know?
Totally.
So they're going to have those moments where they're going to be like, oh yeah, yeah, because you're going to help them see the common thread,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And therapy does that as well. But, and I really applaud the therapists that really work on life skills after the intervention or the
Mm-hmm.
healing has taken place.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to insulate yourself? What do
Yeah.
you do to protect that so it doesn't happen again? You know, and so that you can be the person you want to be, you know, when you have a family or when you have your career.
One of the things that drew me to this work was kind of what you were saying earlier, where some people don't necessarily feel like they need a therapist, but they do need something.
Mhm.
And this was as I was in your class that I was realizing that I could learn so many new things about myself that could make sense of previous decisions and behaviors and patterns of thought that could also help me tweak them when needed for growth in the future. And I mean, I think you know that when I was in high school, I developed this big passion for health and wellness, and I was just very focused on taking a proactive approach to my physical well-being. So when I was in your class and I learned that we could do this for the mind, I was just mind blown, because at that time the thought and the idea was, oh well, some people just develop certain diseases and that's just how it goes, and then some people just get depressed and that's just how it goes. But I was learning at that time that actually there's a lot we can do to, again, just fortify our bodies to make them more resilient against illness or stresses or whatever. And we can do the same thing with the mind. And I didn't have a personal experience where I was like, well, I was going to say where I struggled with anxiety. I did actually when I was a kid, but I didn't have, and nobody told me that it was anxiety, which I'm kind of happy about. And that's a conversation for another time. But I never had that moment where I was like, I need therapy.
Right.
But I did feel like I want to grow, but I kind of feel stuck in this area of my life and I don't know how to grow. And then this opened up my eyes to how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then this idea of personal growth and professional growth
Mm-hmm.
started to take up a lot of space in my mind, and the idea of pursuing excellence. And that's kind of how I got to this podcast and its title. So you help people pursue excellence in a bunch of different areas of their lives, personally and professionally. When you see people in entertainment living their life and I want to say living their career, because kind of they do live their career. If somebody, okay, finish this sentence. I asked another guest this question, and the episode will probably come out before yours. So it's a repeat question for those listening. But before pursuing a career in entertainment, ... So you've seen a lot. You've seen people pursue a career in entertainment with self-awareness at a level 100, at a level 0, at a level 50. You've seen people pursue a career in entertainment with a strong support system, with no support system,
At
with
10, yeah.
Yeah. What comes to mind for you when I say that sentence? Before pursuing a career in entertainment, blank.
Get to know yourself as your best friend so that you do not surprise yourself. You know, the reason we had a DARE program once a month at the middle school that I taught at was to help the students, not to be able to build resilience and not go down the path of drugs, okay, or even try drugs. But the lessons were a lot of role playing, so they could hear themselves say no. And also understand that they're not going to be the only ones saying no, even when they feel like they are. Okay. So, and the word no is very powerful, and we always feel like we have to have an excuse. But if an artist can learn to say no without feeling obligated or guilty, and know that the reason they're saying no is because of their beliefs and values and their hopes and dreams, then they're going to be a lot more stable, content, and happy. We get happy when things go the way we want. Well, if you don't know what you want, then you're not going to know when you're happy. And like I said earlier, like, happiness is, seeing a text from your friend, and we can't use happy, I want to be happy in life. Of course you do, but that's not a goal, because there are moments of happiness before you get to that goal.
Yes. That is so important, because I hear a lot, and even I catch myself thinking things like this sometimes. I hear, well, when this happens, then I'll be happy.
Yeah.
When I get signed to that publishing deal, then I'll be happy. When I get my first placement in a TV show, in this specific TV show, then I'll be happy. But then we keep moving the goalpost. And then there's never an opportunity to be happy, because, well, you said when you got signed that you were going to be, yeah, but.
Right. Well, what I want them to see is that they can be happy along the journey.
Right.
Getting to that goal.
Yes.
And
also you might be sad, and you also might be excited, and you also might feel stressed. Like,
every day,
like you said, happy is not a goal.
Listen,
it's not a goal.
We have over 150 emotions we go through a day, and there's only 5 core emotions. So what are the other emotions? Their ranges, you can be happy, or you can be excited, or you can be,
static,
right? Okay. So there's all the emotions are ranges of the 5 core emotions. So honestly, if I didn't think someone had a great deal of self-awareness to feel like they're ready for battle, then that's what we're going to work on first
Mm-hmm.
is, getting to know what makes you happy and what pisses you off,
Mm-hmm.
and, and reminding them of everything they've overcome, and it doesn't matter if they're 12, 15, or 60. It's like, what are these accomplishments that they're proud of? So, and it's not like, oh, they need to do that again. Okay. But it's the learnings that took place within that event that they're proud of.
Totally.
They stood up to somebody,
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you build resilience, is doing life.
Yes.
And trying things.
Yes.
You're not going to build resilience if you just do what I tell you to do.
No. And in fact, you'd probably build resentment because of that.
Right. Yeah. If what I say doesn't work, you're going to blame me.
Totally. Totally.
And I can handle that.
Uh-huh.
You're not going to be happy tomorrow and the next day. And so I want people to understand what they're working towards, but also strive for the happiness every single day getting there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, we go on road trips and we just want to, when will we be there? When will we be there? How far do we have to go?
Yeah.
Well, let's have fun on the road trip.
Totally. It's that cliche. It's not about the destination, it's the journey, but it's so true. And cliches are cliche for a reason.
Right.
They are. One of my absolute favorite quotes is a quote by Tony Robbins. And he says, it's not what we get or what we achieve. Hold on, I'm messing it up. It's not what we get. Yeah, I think that's it. It's not what we get, but who we become and what we contribute that gives meaning to our lives. And I think sometimes we get a little hyper focused on the thing that we want to get, and that being the thing that creates all the meaning. And it's like, no, it's who you become that gives you so much more meaning and happiness, or joy, as I would put it. Because I'm not saying winning a Grammy is not amazing. It is awesome. I've never won a Grammy, so I can't speak from personal experience. Maybe Haley can tell me, but I'm sure winning a Grammy is an incredible feeling. But then the year after that, if that wasn't sufficient, then the next year the thoughts could be, well, if I don't have another one, then maybe I really am not that good, or something like that. Or like,
every artist has that same feeling when they have an album that does great.
Mm-hmm.
Then they have to produce another.
Yes.
And I don't mean the act of a producer. I just mean great.
Right.
So it's like, is it going to be as good, and it needs to be better.
Mm-hmm. That
is hard when when you're Taylor Swift and you have 16 albums. I don't know how many albums she has.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh my gosh, I have to maintain that and go beyond.
Mm-hmm.
And that's tough, especially when you've been doing it. If you're fortunate enough to have success and you have a team working for you, the more people that work for you, the less decisions you're going to have to make. And pretty soon you're just going to be wandering, and people are going to say, you got to go here. And here's your day sheet. You got to be in this room at 2:00, and you have to be at this radio station at 4. And we're going to eat, a vegetarian omelet.
Uh-huh.
They don't.
But you're a carnivore.
Their decision making is really about what, they may have a choice of what to wear, but the young ones don't. Mm-hmm. But their choices are limited. What do you want to drink? What do you want to eat? They don't have to worry about getting to New York if they have a tour manager, or, somebody's going to wake them up. Somebody's going to tell them where they're supposed to be that day, and what the goal is, what the audience is, or what the, or who to shake hands with, that day. It's like, but transitionally, or when they're finished with the workday, nobody is telling them, hey, you need to eat dinner, you need to go to sleep at a reasonable hour, you need to have some me time, or even like, hey, you're off tour, and there's 2 parties on the same night. And I'm speaking from experience. Like, I've had somebody had this problem. They had no idea how to choose. Like, it was like both parties they wanted to be at, but it was like they did not know how to make the decision.
So they cloned themselves.
No, they shut down and stayed home. And no, I know.
Yeah.
But they shut down and they don't go anywhere. They're just like, this is too overwhelming. It's too much. I'm just going to tell both of them I'm sick, or just, I can't go out, So, and I'm talking about somebody that doesn't have a bodyguard with them 24/7. So it's like, especially child stars, as the earlier they are, they enter the business, I mean, if they do, that's awesome, because it means they landed a job. But it's going to take away from the natural learning events in their life that come from, not having a career at age 8.
I feel like this could be a whole podcast in itself, and I don't know, maybe we make that part 2.
Yeah.
Like the life of a child star, because there's a lot we could talk about. Would you, if a parent came to you and said, my kid really wants to get into this industry and they have so much talent, what would you say to them?
There's a lot of, I've had that question so many times.
Sure.
And it's interesting, because I've had professionals in the business call and say, hey, would you talk to this parent, because they're not sure if they need to support this hobby or dream of their child. For me, and I can only speak to my experience and my map of the world. But I think when a parent decides that, they need to make sure that they are doing it for the right reasons. The right reasons, the biggest right reason is because their child wants to do it. They don't have to do it. They get joy from it. And also, the moment they don't, the moment that it is, and I don't mean the moment, but a period of time that they don't enjoy it, the parents will know. And that's when you need to either take a break or pull out. Because the entertainment industry is going to put a huge amount of stress, not just on the talent, but on the family and everyone that is connected to that family.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's like, be careful what you wish for, be careful what you pray for. I've had more than one parent say, why did I pray for this? I've had more than one client say, why did I ever want this?
I'm taking notes right now for our next podcast because there's so many rabbit holes we could go down right now. I kind of want to wrap up a little bit and ask you we'll say a few more questions.
Okay.
The first one, and maybe these could be like a rapid fire bullet point answers. The first one is, what are some common denominators, like 3 to 5 common denominators of people who have sustained a career in entertainment in a healthy way? And then what are some common denominators with, and you could make this child stars or you could make it anybody, some common denominators with people who are unable to sustain a healthy career?
Well, you know, the last thing I want to say about parents,
Mm-hmm.
I think the parents need these 3 phases or these 3 steps too. Where are you? Where
Yeah.
do you want to be? You know, and how are you going to get there? Because a lot of and I'll stop on child stars in just a second, but families are uprooted when their child gets a show,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or a job. So you have to make sure that you're ready for that.
Yes.
And I'll tell you at the end, like a project that I'm working on that
Mm-hmm.
is helping that. The 3, I'm just going to kind of brainstorm a little bit. The common denominators for, you want me to do healthy first?
Let's do unhealthy and then we'll end on a good note and go healthy at the end so people remember that more.
Okay. I think I'm trying to think of how I can say this kind of in a overall, because there's so many different minute points. I could say, well, they don't have autonomy, they don't have resilience, they don't have confidence. Okay. But I'm trying to get bigger than that. The support system isn't there. They don't, the trust isn't there. So they don't know who to turn to.
Yeah.
And that can be on any level of success. You know, how many yes men do you have around you?
Mm-hmm.
Or yes people?
Basically, this question is stemming from a video that I just did where I talked about 7 characteristics of mentally healthy people. So I'm kind of wanting to understand your perspective and some characteristics that you have seen of healthy and unhealthy entertainment professionals or entertainers specifically.
Okay, so the unhealthy, all right, I'm just going to kind of take that as I'm thinking of it in a circle, and I'm just going to put everything that I've seen in there in my experience.
Okay.
There is competition among castmates or bandmates.
Okay.
You don't know your role in your job, or you're not confident, or you don't like your role. When you compromise your values, when you do not have a support system, and when you don't know yourself. When you don't know yourself, you're going to be impulsive when making decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much uncertainty there that you are free falling and you're like, oh, that looks good. Let's try that. Okay. Not giving any merit to what could come out of that. Where could this lead? Who could this hurt?
Mm-hmm.
The lack of self-awareness, the lack of confidence, the lack of privacy.
Mm-hmm.
The not being able to say no. Also, I think having unhealthy strategies for coping skills.
Yes.
You know, you're looking for the quick fix, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and that, you know, it also distraction. I mean, it could be just being distracted by your phone, you know, all the time. And that for artists, part of that is kind of sad, because why do we have our phones? To stay connected. And artists need to have a connection to family and friends. And when they're on tour, it's impossible,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so I think all of this kind of goes back to knowing what uh, you might know what's best for you, but do you implement it?
Yes.
Do you
I
choose
was just
that?
having this conversation with a client who was like, without giving details, it's an athlete, and this person was talking about how coaches in the past have said, hey, you got to work on your footwork, or you got to work on whatever. And the response was, I know. And the coach was like, well, if you know, then
Right.
why aren't you doing it? And I think we a lot of times intuitively know what we could do, should do, want to do, but then we don't do it. And that's a
Okay. And
totally different thing.
why? Because of that, there is a underlying track that's in the mind that is telling them something that is either they don't believe, or they're believing a false, like, I'm not good enough. Okay.
Right.
Right. Or it could be shame,
Mm-hmm.
not feeling worthy, not feeling like they have the skill, um, or not being able to be assertive and stating what you want at that moment, you know. And listen, you don't have to um, choose a goal and be committed to it, and never change your mind.
Yeah.
Like, you just have to get through that one decision, feeling confident about your decision. You'll eventually know if it's right or wrong, if
Totally.
you make the the right decision or the wrong decision. And it's not about having a meltdown when that happens. It's about, how do I turn this mistake into something that can work for me?
Totally. Totally.
So these are the skills that create autonomy,
Mm-hmm.
create agency and resilience.
So then would you say the characteristics or common denominators of somebody who has sustained or can sustain or has uh, is mentally healthy would be the opposite? They have a support system. They know who to trust. They know what works for them. There is no competition, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Or
And they know what
what would be
they're not.
different?
I'm sorry, what?
I was just asking what would be different other than basically the opposite of what you just said.
They know their boundaries and they're not going to compromise
Mm.
unless there's a reason to, and it's okay with their map of the world, which is their experiences, their um,
Values.
values, their self-awareness, because I think we get in trouble when things arises that surprise us, and we just make a hasty decision. And that's great if it's like, hey, do you want to run get ice cream? Right? But it's like, hey, do you want to do you want to take off your clothes for this next photo shoot?
Yeah.
Those
Sorry. It makes me laugh because it's one of those like it's just kind of a funny example, but it's a very real example.
totally, because they're not gonna, you know, people influence you. Power of persuasion is not about shock. It's about getting you to agree with part of it and then moving the boundary.
Mm-hmm.
And the other person is like, well, I guess a little bit's okay. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
You have to know before, I think before what you want, you have to know what you don't want. I do not want my music played on that commercial.
Mm-hmm.
I do not want to act in this particular genre, or,
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many decisions that you're not prepared for.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to have practice. you're not going to be good at making decisions unless you have practice.
Right.
The people
Right.
who
It's
say,
a skill like anything else, the only way you get better at it is to practice.
absolutely. So when people ask you, just friends ask you, where do you want to go eat? You're like, I don't care, you choose. That is passing the buck. That is, that's
That was an
giving
old
power.
timer. That was an old timer phrase.
That's like saying, I don't want the responsibility and the power.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can't say that about your career.
True.
You have to be in charge. You have to know what you want and be responsible.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think you've got to know your boundaries and where and what you're doing this for, not just because I want to play music or I want to be famous. There's, that's just a small portion. Like, what are you going to do with it? What do you want your message to be?
Mm-hmm.
And and these are talks that a lot of bands don't have time to talk about and get to know each other,
Or don't even know that these are topics to talk about.
right?
Like a lot of people don't know their boundaries because they've never been asked, well, if someone says, do you want to take your clothes off for that photo shoot? What would you say? They don't even think about that until it happens. Like you said, you don't want to be surprised when these things come up. Like,
Or they'll say, I don't know. And I'll say, well, you think about it.
yeah, exactly.
You need to think about it, and not just for that moment. Think about it for the next, what is that one decision going to do a month from now, a year from now, 10 years from now,
Yep. Totally.
And that's the only way you can, because with that decision making skill, it helps you manage yourself, you feel like you're in control. And if you are managing yourself and you feel in control, you're going to be happy.
Yeah, I think sometimes people make decisions to please other people, and it might feel like the thing to do in the moment, but then 5 minutes later or 5 days later,
Yeah.
the conversation in their head or with me or with you is, oh, I did it again.
Right.
I did it again. And then there's this, it's kind of like a thread in a sweater that if you pull it a little bit, it's like, oh, it's okay. We just like cut it or we tie a little knot and then it's fine. But if you keep pulling it and you keep pulling it and you keep pulling it, then all of a sudden there's going to be an entire thread missing in the sweater and the whole thing can unravel. Now that sounds dramatic, but it's true. I think when you pull one thread all the way through, then the sweater starts to fall apart, and that one thread could be just saying yes, 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 yes.
Right.
And not living in integrity or making decisions in integrity and recognizing like, oh my gosh, I've pulled this thread. I got to stop. I got to figure out how to stop it now because I've never done that before.
And I think that's why you've got to have resources and tools in your toolbox so that you can have options and flexibility in your thinking of what can I do with the information or the predicament I got myself in right now. What do I want to do? Not should. It's like, because should, it's like, well, whose should are you listening to? Is that mom thinks you should do, or your manager, or you? It's like you need to think about what you want. And the question about like, where do you want to eat? And the people pleaser says, I don't care, you pick. All right. It's, if you never exercise that assertiveness and tell, people are going to say, oh, Stephanie will eat anywhere. She doesn't care. And you really do care. And I know you're just trying to be polite and you want the other person to enjoy it. So if that's the case, then start start little and say, don't say, well, we're going to Raising Cane's, I mean, you can, that'd be awesome. But what if you ask the question back and give two answers, like, okay, well, I would love pizza or sushi. So you choose, and you know what I want. Now you take it and make the decision.
Yes. Yes. But that has to be practiced, right?
It does.
Yep. Okay, Cristi, in the very beginning, I asked you about your mission. Like, how did this come about? How did the whole thing start? And I asked if you knew that you were pioneering this industry as you were doing it, or this mission as you were doing it. And you talked about your mission being, helping these young people at the time, or not even, it was just helping professionals in the entertainment industry. And then it became,
I mean, if we really want to nail it, it was like helping my daughter.
Yeah.
Not derail.
Right.
Because I didn't know where this train was going. And it was scaring me.
Who would have known it came to be, or it would come to be where it's at now, which is so amazing for you and for her.
And I also think that I might have been the one to really work it, one of the first. But I also think that the Me Too movement helped. It's like celebrities are talking about an outside resource and support. Mm-hmm. The embarrassment and the stigma is not there. My generation and older, if you went to therapy, it was a secret and something was wrong. Mm-hmm. Really wrong, that nobody talked about, and that's just we got to understand how to function in today's world.
Yes.
And that, and feel like we're doing a good job. Mm-hmm. No matter what if we're a teacher or a nurse or, postmaster or whatever,
mm-hmm.
Postmaster.
Toastmaster?
No, I said postmaster. A male person.
Yes.
Where did postmaster come from? Sorry.
It came from where you come from.
No, it probably came from my grandmother. Okay, go ahead.
Exactly. That's where you came from. Okay. And now I lost my train of thought because I was thinking about a postmaster. Oh, okay. We were talking about mission. So that was your mission in the beginning. Mm-hmm. What is it now? And sorry. Okay. Maybe let me help direct your thinking. So you do two things. You do a lot of things, but two big things in your career. You coach, as we've been talking about for the last hour and a half, 2 hours. And you also are an adjunct, or not an adjunct. I'm an adjunct. You're a real professor at Belmont, and you teach students who are going into the music and entertainment industries about their social intelligence and their emotional intelligence. You help them enhance their self-awareness and their social awareness and their self-management and their relationship management. Yeah. And when I first met you, one of the things I remember you saying was, I hope that by doing this, by teaching in the university, that we will get to a day where there's a mental wellness coach or somebody on staff at every label, at every studio, in every management company, et cetera, et cetera. So is that your mission? I don't know. I want you to answer that, but I was just thinking about that in asking the question of how you mentioned that a while back. And then of course, with your coaching, you do what we've been talking about. So what is your mission? And not as a human, but just in your professional life?
It is to help artists and creatives, or anybody in the public eye, mm-hmm. that to validate them that their dream was a possibility while not losing themselves.
Mm.
I
There
mean,
you have it, folks.
my first thing is family. You know, I've seen entertainment business destroy families, and I've seen it bring them together too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my first mission being in that van was I just wanted Haley to come back and see me when I'm an empty nester, you know, like come home for Christmas, you know. And then it grew to, I want people when they spend, whether it's going to college for 4 years, when they get out, be happy of their journey. Now that doesn't mean they're going to, they decided 4 years ago what they wanted to be, and that's what they're going to be. It could have changed, or it could be an entry level job that just bridges them to, you know, their dream of their success ladder. But ultimately, it's like, it took me until I was 30 to be secure in the decisions that I made and not regret or not wish away time. You know,
Mm.
when I get a Grammy, you know, a lot of families are like, well, when we have a child, you know, like, no, be happy with your current status, you know, whether that is career wise or financially, you know, so you can remember the days that you couldn't wait to get where you are.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And I think that's a good reminder just for me personally to take a moment and be grateful for where I'm at now, even if it's not where I want to be yet.
Totally.
I love that. Okay. My last question.
Mm-hmm.
What's for dinner?
Oh, God.
I'm just kidding. You mentioned that earlier when you were talking about different tracks. So I was just wondering what's on your mind and what's for dinner. No. Okay. Here's my last question.
All right.
Are you ready?
Yes.
My last question is, what has been the most challenging part of your career so far? And what has been the most rewarding? You can make that as quick or as long as you want.
Challenging is seeing someone that knows what they need to do, but are too scared to do it,
Mm-hmm.
or too scared to try it, to take the risk. The most rewarding happens a few times a semester. I get a student, an email from a student, or a text or an email from a client or a manager that tells me, yeah, things are great, and they remember something I said. And, you know, it doesn't always have to be the right thing, or, you know, but they learned from it. What's on my mind right now is my first class I ever taught was in Mississippi in 3rd grade. And it was 1992. And I'm so ashamed to say right this second that I have not emailed this person back. 2 months ago, I got an email from a child that was in my very first class and told me everything that we did in the school year, like what they remembered and about their family. And the reason that I'm ashamed is because I have shown my family and my friends that email, because it has made, like, I mean, it just made my whole year, you know?
Mhm.
However, I haven't written them back. And it's so horrible.
Well,
But
to the person that wrote the email,
yeah,
it's
I'm so
coming.
sorry. It is coming, I promise. So it's on the to-do list today. But anyway,
Move it to the top.
yeah, it is. I mean, it moved me so, it touched me so much, you know, it, and I love that I planted the seed of something in that year, or something that we did that he remembered. And he was telling me in the email about his son. And anyway, I'll just stop there, but
Sweet.
it was really cool.
Yep. Well, as another former student in your very first class at Belmont, I can agree with him, and I can put an exclamation point on the things that he said and how you impacted his life, because you've done that for me too. And like I said in the beginning, I don't have a clue what my life would look like at this point in time if I hadn't met you and I hadn't taken your class and you hadn't been so brave and willing to take me under your wing at the time that you did, because that was kind of a big risk, and you really didn't have that much time to be helping me along my journey, but you did. And I will never forget that. And I don't know, something that I wanted to ask you about was mentors, but maybe we put a pin in that and talk about that in the next podcast. But I think mentors are so incredibly important. And again, like I really don't know where I would be if I didn't have you, and I didn't have you as a mentor, not just back in 2013, but all the way up to today. I would be a lost sheep. So thank you.
You're welcome. And I'm gonna take that compliment. And yes, I thank you. But I will say, Steph, that your confidence, integrity, faith, and trust, and your awareness and your skill set, I know where you'd be. Not exactly. I don't know what city, okay, but I know where you would be. You would be content. You'd have resilience. You would be, if you weren't in the job that you wanted, you would use your resources and your grit to get where you wanted to go. And there's no doubt about that.
Thank you. Thank you. I so appreciate you, and I appreciate not just our relationship, but the work that you do in the classroom and the work that you do with your clients, because like I said in the beginning, it has pioneered this work to be something that people talk about freely and openly. And you might not take credit for it, but I'm going to give you credit that you really did pioneer that. And if you hadn't been so brave in the beginning to be like, okay, well, I'll be the one that's helping out these people, then I don't know how it would have started. It would have started, but
Right.
I just don't know how. So anyway, I thank you for that. And I thank you for sharing your time with me on this podcast. And I'm looking forward to part 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7.
Thank you so much. I do want to give a plug, okay?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead, please.
Allison Stoner, and if your audience doesn't know who she is, they can Google her and find everything she's ever done. I'm sure on the web, but just a incredible professional and a former child star, and still working in the business, and very much her mission to be a mental health advocate, and she has a practitioner and certification license for that as well. But we've been writing a kind of a multimedia educational resource for the industry. We started in 2021, and Her memoir is coming out this fall, and we have designed something called the Artist Essentials Toolkit. And follow us on Instagram, and you'll see links to get a little preview and see what it's all about. And we're really excited that that's going to come out shortly after her memoir, sometime this fall.
Awesome.
So,
well, I was going to try and put up the name of the website, but I couldn't find it. So I'll put that later. But I do want to put this one up. You can find Cristi and me too on shadingthelimelight.com. And if anything that you heard in here resonated with you, and you either work in the industry, or you want to work in the industry, or you know somebody who works in the industry, and you think that the tools and the things that we've talked about could be helpful for you or that person that you know, please go to shadingthelimelight.com and reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you, and we would love to help you, or whoever it is that that's in the industry. So again, Cristi, thanks so much. If there's anything that I missed, you can say it now. Forever hold your peace until the next podcast. All right. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks, Steph.
Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please hit the like button or leave a comment. I'd love to hear your feedback. And if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that the next time I put out a video, you'll be the first to know. I'll see you soon in the next episode.